There are a great deal of anxieties about the future of public interest news in the UK, and those come from a variety of sources, inside, outside, and alongside the media. What there is also is a great deal of activity. Government is launching inquiries, academics are working on reports, industry is working on innovation activities, and technology companies are supporting them in that. What there isn't is some shared visions about the futures we'd like to create and the futures we'd like to avoid. This project does just that. The News Futures 2035 initiative is a multi-stakeholder process that seeks to create shared visions for the future of public interest news in the UK, and also to go further, to create connected networks so that those agents and actors within this ecosystem can work together to create the future we want. The News Futures 2035 initiative is led by the team here at UCLan and the Media Innovation Studio, but is an initiative, a consortium that includes the Society of Editors UK, the Public Interest News Foundation, the Independent Community News Network, Bloomberg, and Reach PLC, as well as a number of other independent thinkers who've come together to create this project. It's supported by the Google News Initiative, who've demonstrated their interest in supporting thinking about the future of public interest news in the UK. The News Futures 2035 initiative will not only result in reports with insights into the futures of public interest news in the UK, but will also result in a series of actions that bring together different stakeholders to work together to create the futures that we'd like, and also to think about the futures we'd like to avoid and what actions are necessary to do just that.
I'm here because I think we still have a very important task to do, to find ways of making sure that good journalism, writing about issues that are in the public interest, but are not necessarily widely read by people. Things like the outcome of what happens in law courts, things like what the police do, things like hospitals, public institutions of various kinds. Reporting on what happens there, I think, is very important. The public at large don't necessarily read it unless there's some tremendous scandal that they want to know about. But I just think it's very, very important that a free press keeps an eye on all the various instruments of government and local government. There's quite a lot of evidence from studies in the United States and from one or two studies in the UK that the disappearance of a newspaper in an area reduces the number of people who turn out to vote, and also reduces the quality of financial planning and control by local authorities. So there is evidence that public interest news, as the report dubbed it, actually has a really important effect on good governance.
So I found the session thought-provoking and quite inspiring in the sense that it's taking us on a journey to think of, extreme scenarios that will produce ideas. So it's kind of a bit of an extreme brainstorming, but it's a structured way of brainstorming because we were told to think along two axes, which makes the conversation that much more structured.
It was tough to begin with, I guess, because we were kind of grappling with the different scenarios that could play out in the future. They seem to be very abstract and also quite provocative, which, to be honest, immediately seemed quite difficult to wrap your head around. But to be honest, as we worked through the exercise together, we really started to understand that provocation helps some interesting ideas come out about what the future could look like, and also I think the really key part was the learnings.
I would say some of the pointers raised around how do you safeguard around resources being taken away from the industry, and one of the things that you should be doing is training your journalists that you have more in terms of how do you spot the big stories and how can you put your limited resources to work, and how do you partner with other parts of the industry to ensure that our industry per se, because we're facing a lot of threats, whether in terms of the demands on people's attention, the losing interest in news as a whole, the legal threats to journalists. How do you safeguard against those? And I think there were some really good ideas being raised.
To really succeed, public interest news needs to be valuable to lots of different stakeholders. So it needs to be valuable to the users primarily, who will access it, but also to the people who are producing it, whether that be kind of the state or the society via state-funded broadcasters or publications, or to kind of privately held publications. So I think one thing we already focused on is the alignment between what users want and what publishers are giving them, and how they are able to make money from that, because mostly we deal with private companies. But I think these are questions that kind of they extend. You need to get a coalition of people who think that public interest news is worthwhile, right across the kind of the chain.
There's a commitment to the future of trustworthy public interest news in the UK. This has been demonstrated not only by the News Futures 2035 project, but also by the fact that the stakeholders who participated in this initiative have agreed that we want to continue this, that there's more work to be done, and that we will be working together to create the News Futures Forum, in which we would like to involve all the key stakeholders, the industry, the technology companies, the regulatory actors, the civil society groups, the labour, to all come together to think about how do we together create the future supply of trustworthy public interest news in the UK. The News Futures 35 project will not only result in insights generated through this foresight study, but it's also bringing together actors to deliver actionable projects in order to make that future happen.